past 4 p.m. Thank you very much for staying tuned to your Talk News Sports radio station. This is Hard Facts. I am Alagbariya. Someone just sent in a message, says, I'm back. No, I'm not back. I'm passing by. I'm a visitor on the show. I'm standing in for Sam, who's away for a while. He's on vacay, so to say. All right, so I want us to talk about something, and something really interesting, I think. In February of 1966, by the way, for those of you who are first-time listeners on the show, I am Alagbariya, and it's always my pleasure having you on the show, because there is no complete conversations without your thoughts, without your opinions and your contributions. So I was going to say, in February of 1966, I think there was a coup, January of 1966, if I remember my history very well, and there was a certain gentleman from Okrika extraction who goes by the name Isaac Adaka Boro, who had thought it wise to fight for the emancipation of what we call the Niger Delta region. It confuses me sometimes when we say Niger Delta, because, you know, there is what some people say is the political locating of the Niger Delta or siting of the Niger Delta. Others say Niger Delta is oil producing. I mean, there's several narratives, but on the show maybe we'll have to clear that, or we get to clear that. However, he was believed to have fought for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. However, that fight did not take long. It wasn't a longer fight, and the gentleman died on May the 9th, if I remember. If I can't remember the history, but this period, this May, usually is set aside every year, you know, to commemorate this gentleman who contributed to, you know, to fighting for the Niger Delta in whatever little way that he did. Now, the commemoration in itself is also, in my opinion, and maybe I will be corrected, in my opinion, it's an attempt to remind us of why we need to fight for the development of the Niger Delta, because it's a land so blessed, but it's a land so filled with lack and want. Anyways, enough of my preaching. If you let me, I preach for maybe 2 hours, as if I was a Niger Delta pastor. But joining me to have this conversation, to help me with the conversation, is Warisenibo Emmanuel Bristol Alagbariya, who is the chairman Boro's Day Planning Committee. So there is a Boro's Day coming up. But that's not just why he's here. He's not going to talk about Boro's Day. We're going to talk about the plethora, the myriad of issues bedeviling Niger Delta as a region. And I've got a very big question I want to ask you, Niger Deltans and those who do business in Niger Delta. Can any good thing? Anyways, I'm not completing my question just yet. But welcome, Warisenibo. It's good to have you in the studio. Do you think we've come a long way in the Niger Delta? Are there achievements we can boast of? When we look at the Niger Delta and compare it to the resources that we have, can we say, oh, okay, at least there is hope? Can we say that?
Well, in as much as there's life, we believe there is hope.
Okay.
It's only a dead man that you could just rule out. Even a man that is in coma, if he wakes up, he's capable of springing a surprise. So that's it. And just like what you mentioned, I just want to point out something, that Isaac Adaka Boro is not from Okrika.
Okay.
Yes, he's from Bayelsa State.
But my head,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I think, but as he was arrested, I think they say he died at Ogu or so.
Okay. All right.
He died.
Okay, thank you for the correction.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, today, this event annually I think for more than 2 decades, we've been celebrating the man, his contribution, everything, what he stood for, his ideology and all the rest. And, we decide as young people to look at this so that it will mold and change the minds of our youths. We all will see patriotism has been thrown away people now are so greedy. They do not think about their brothers and their environment. So Isaac Adakaburu stood for equity. He also believed in one Nigeria.
Okay.
At the last lap, because he fought on the part of Nigeria.
Yeah, he did.
This is a man that gave his all. And this year's event, we have a team 67 years after Willing's commission. The fears of yesterday is still our reality today. So
let's take it easy, right? Let's take it one step at a time,
okay.
Right? And I like the theme for this year. And you mentioned something. You mentioned 67 years after
Willing's commission.
What was that commission about?
Okay, before Nigerian transited to self-rule, there was a constitutional conference.
Okay.
Before the independence,
yeah,
there was a constitutional conference where Nigerians should come together to discuss how their governing laws, how they should manage themselves. And in that conference, there is some Rivers chiefs and elders that also participated in that conference, led by our late Chief Alagbariya of blessed memory.
Okay.
In fact, it was his name that NDDC building, the former building before they relocated to the new site.
The one with the Boro,
yes, was named after him. So he was one that led these Rivers chiefs and elders. At the time, Bayelsa was still in Rivers State. So in that conference at the Lancaster House, they made quite profound submission on behalf of the Niger Delta people, that as we're transiting, the major tribe will subsume the minority tribe. And you know that one of the unspoken truth about the quest for self-rule is because of the oil economy.
All right.
Because at that time it was booming and it was still in its infant stage, and the Nigerians will feel that yes, we're viable enough to manage ourselves.
That was what, 1957, 50, if I remember correctly. Can you help me?
I think 1940 something.
No, when this conversation was happening.
It was 1958.
50. Okay.
Yes, 1958.
Okay.
Yes. 58. So as of today now, it's 67 years.
Okay.
So now in this conference, the Bria and his group, they stood very firmly and they said that no, we should be allowed to stay alone and to govern ourselves. So that the major tribe will subsume the minor ones. So in the wisdom of the conference, the committee was headed by Henry Willings. Henry Willings led a committee, and they visited Nigeria. They met with stakeholders. They went all over this country to verify the claim of those people. And part of their recommendation, they accepted that the fears were genuine and genuine. But however, it is not enough for the Niger Delta people to stay alone and govern them, so that they should still be under Nigeria. They should still be in Nigeria. But rather there were alternatives. And part of the alternative is that there will be special agency to develop them, which over time has evolved to the NDDC we have today, the ONPADEC and all.
ONPADEC, there was ONPADEC,
yes,
yeah.
And all the rest. But we're asking that this solution, has it solved our problem? Has it reduced, has it eliminated the quest for self-rule? We're still talking about
now, before you continue, right? Yes. Because it's really an interesting conversation when you take us back to 58, and then you mention how the minority were afraid of the majority, yes. Right? And
the kind of court that has to do with population, like we have now. Today, it's still used against that we cannot independently, without seeking for the support of the major group to stand firmly. An example is even this PA 3%, 13%. You saw that even when these issues were real, but because we don't have the vote.
Now, I want to ask the question. Yes. The question is this a problem in the Niger Delta? Do you think majority compensation or resource control, or do you think that is the problem? The major problem of the Niger. If that is the problem, do you think it's the main problem of the Niger Delta?
That is the only problem I have in Nigeria, is because people deprive others from participating and control resources. That's the problem that is called crisis in the north. Economic crisis. That is what is affecting this entire country. Now there are people that are there to ensure that you don't control yourself, you don't participate, because they are coming from a quite disadvantaged environment.
Okay.
In a way, it is not also disadvantaged. It's because of idleness and free money for people to share. If people could think out of the box, bring up figments of creative ideas, you see that every environment has been blessed by God. But some persons are just dormant. They don't want to work. They don't want to think. They just only want to see how they could get money from regions,
oil,
from oil and from other areas where that have already been tilted.
But can I go back to my question, really?
Yes.
And what you've mentioned is real. It's germane, it's salient, a conversation, an argument. But is it really our problem? Because one can sit here in this studio and ask, we've been given resources, a part of it, a portion of it. What have we done with it? What have we done to show 13% derivatives, for instance, 3% BIA, for instance? There is the host community development fund, for instance. I could go on and on. But what have we done with the little that we've been given before we can now shout and argue that these issues of minority, majority, resource control is a problem?
Okay, it has always been our question, as in it has always been the question thrown at us at all times. That you've been given something. What have you done with it? But it takes us back to the beginning. Now, the people that are leading us, were they elected? The people
that's a different argument.
Hold on, please.
Yeah.
Like for instance, now you say money have been to NDC. The NDC, the money were appointed from the federal government, and they control them. They could sack them, which means that for you to have given something is return, you've already created a spirit. He wants to remain there. He will do everything at the detriment of his people.
Studio to help me correct. But anyways, welcome back. 29 minutes gone past 4. And I just can't shake off that feeling that I have to mention it one more time. I think Boro is not from Okrika. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, we're talking about its resources, the challenges it is faced with. And my guest, which I will reintroduce in a bit, has been talking, and he's been saying that, the problem is that 1957, 58 into 1960 up until 1966, which is the issue of the majority taking advantage of the minority, is still what is at play. He mentioned the number of representation at the National Assembly, for instance. He talked about resource control. He talked about how we bring the resource, but it's shared to people with a larger population, and then we are left to take a very few. And he was going to make reference to the 3% PI, the 3% for host communities in the PIA. He was also going to mention some other things, if I remember correctly. And he has pointed that to be the major problem. And I asked the question, but really, have we done anything good with the little that we have? And he has tried to also point to the challenges where the people who man the agencies responsible for intervening in the Niger Delta not being elected but selected. But I have an argument against that, and I'll argue. My argument is that the people who screen them are our representatives, the people we elected to represent them. Because whenever they go to the National Assembly, and they speak all the big grammar that they speak there, it is the people representing us that speak those grammars. And one thing comes to mind, Honorable Minister of your mic. Help me welcome back to the mic my guest for today. It goes by the name. It's a long name, so I have to read it from the script. So you're laughing at me. It goes by the name Warisenibo Emmanuel, Bristol, Alagbariya, who is the chairman, Boro State Planning Committee. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
All right, so I just made an argument. The people screening, especially from, usually the committee is led by people from the Niger Delta region, right? Those people screening, first of all, they do a committee that looks into certain things, and then they go to the sitting of the whole. The question is, they are representatives of the people. How come they don't appoint people that will bring joy to you and I in the Niger Delta region?
It goes back to the point. We have representative there, committee, but there are minorities in the community.
Okay.
You can only have your say. You don't have your way.
Oh, wow.
And we've also had situations where people were rejected, even at the floor of the house, by their people, their representative. But because of they are from another political party that so needed them, they still scale through, because since we're from the minority, we cannot even bring any change. We must liaise and partner. We seek the consideration, the mercy of the major tribes for us to pull anything through. Do you know that the petroleum industry bill, long time when it was conceived, at the floor of the house, several years it was turned down. Even as important and strategic as that bill was at that time. And these are enlightened minds, very exposed people, that they know that it will encourage participation. And I want to give credit to those that have championed it not until it was passed, 2022.
Yeah.
That I think they even when the laws, the provision were not favorable to us, because how could you ask us as community people to protect these pipelines when there are pipeline contractors? And you're saying that if there is sabotage from the community, you pull out funds from there to fix those things.
Yeah, from the 3%.
From the 3%. It is strange. All we're asking for is that we needed equity stake and share in these oil resources. Most of the people controlling these resources, they are not from this community. And the people that own this oil block, they are not from there. Look at Renaissance Energy now. Renaissance Energy now, that took over from Shell.
Yeah.
Look at the board members. Look at the ownership. So how do we feel as a people? And that is what IYC stands for, to liberate our people, to awaken the consciousness, so that we must be patriotic. And that was what Boro stood for. That's why we're celebrating him today, after several years that he passed on.
Do you think liberation has worked? Boro, many other people who rose after Boro, the early 2000s. Do you think that liberation fight, the catchphrase, emancipation of the Niger Delta, do you think it has worked? It has been successful? What's your answer going to be?
Yeah, it has been successful.
Okay.
Because you, first of all, liberate your mind.
Okay, interesting.
You must liberate your mind. And for you to speak out, for the people to stand firmly to say that we're tired, sick and tired of it, I think they have been liberated. In their minds, the only thing that is remaining is that it's for the government to see reasons with us and also understand that it is for the collective good of the nation. It will build friendship. It will foster cohesion. Then we will now look for a way to stay together. And when you create competition, you start seeing excellence. Other people will start looking within the environment. The same laws applies to them too. They will start looking around the environment to see things they could take advantage of. That's what drives the society, and it creates jobs, and it will also expand the economic space for more participation. But when you narrow it down, people feel that there is no need to work. All you need to do is to struggle to get yourself in government, and you now put your hands into Niger Delta and impoverish them and collect money from them. That's why we've been moving around in circles over these years, and we're not making any progress. Any president that comes in recent time appoints himself the petroleum minister. Why are you petroleum minister? Because you don't even trust yourself, so you can't even trust others. And we've always remained at the same point. So this struggle is about, first and foremost, letting young people know that there are better lives that you could live. Letting young people know that what is given to you, they try to tokenize this 3%. It's a token, and they also want us to be grateful to them. We cannot be grateful. I look forward to a day where companies will not come and take our land from us again. They will tell us that we are coming to do business here. We want you to contribute your land as your equity stake in this business. So we own this business together. But if it goes down, we go down together.
You know what the law says?
We progress together.
You know what the law says, that the land belongs to government. So are they going to do equity with you? Why?
All these laws, they are obnoxious. They are designed together because of to satisfy and to enrich retarded and redundant minds that are not creative. That's why they put this law together. People own land, they own property everywhere in the world. They own property everywhere in the world. What the government should do, the government should regulate and take tax from it. Owning everything, the government cannot manage any property. When the government owns so much, you're not encouraging people to fight. That is why you see people kill just to get there. And they know that it's the easiest means for them to make money.
So what's the way forward? What's the solution for the myriad of problems in the Niger Delta?
The way forward is this. We must restructure this government. We must also open a new conversation on how we should live together as Nigerians.
When you say restructure, that's a word that has been thrown around so many times. What do you mean when you say restructure?
Restructuring the government means that you will allow the people to manage their resources and pay tax to the federal government. When they manage their resources, the crisis in Boro will end because the people that own those mineral resources will manage it.
But it's not an even distribution of resources, even in the Niger Delta. I don't know if you agree with me. There's certain communities who do not have what other communities have. Some of them don't even have natural resources. They're just blessed with maybe agriculture, which, when you talk about revenue generation, can not necessarily be compared to what oil will bring. So would that not also bring about certain economic difficulties?
Imbalance.
Yes.
Okay, that was why I mentioned that the people that promote this imbalanced government, they have redundant minds.
Okay.
We have, even as challenging as the desert, people are still existing there. Today, Nigerians travel to Saudi Arabia. They travel to Dubai. They go to other places. And these are places that maybe, they have oil in Saudi Arabia. They have oil in Saudi Arabia. But, there are other environments where that there are some persons, there's some areas, there's some nations that make huge revenue from tourism.
South Africa is one I know.
South Africa is also one of them too. We must be productive in our hearts. And that is why the focus should be on young people. Because at this social media era, young people are exploring their minds, they are creative. They are trying to see how they could make themselves very comfortable. But the system of government does not encourage that at all. This idea of government grabbing everything, owning so much, why should the government control so much resources?
So you've talked about restructuring, you've talked about, what else did you mention as solutions?
I'm saying that if they restructure the country and we open the conversation on how we should exist together, so there must be respect for each other, traditionally, culturally, and religiously.
Okay.
There must be respect. We must learn to tolerate each other. The lopsidedness is too much. It permeates through the entire system, the fabric of this country. That is why you could see a young boy from the north that will write the same exam you sit for here, and you wouldn't get an admission.
A federal character, they call it.
No, not even federal character.
But that's what they call it.
Yes.
So there's a slot for
there's
them.
Slot. But do you know that? Okay, now for instance, in our region, the reason why we're not participating equitably, they'll tell you that you don't have the capacity, the required capacity. And oftentimes we have held strongly that nobody was born with experience. People were given an opportunity. And they should de-emphasize on none too sensitive. But when you now raise the bar, because when you started, when you were favored, there was no bar at all. Now, others want to participate. The indigenous ones, now you're raising the bar, using professionalism and other things to shove them out. Rather, what they should have done was to give a window where people will be trained, given an opportunity for them to now grow over time and participate favorably. But now it's no longer there. So what we stand for is IYC. Though there have been some political situations where some people have said that IYC is now political and all the rest. Now IYC has purged herself from all those political influence. Yes, currently now. Yes.
Have they? I mean, what happened in Bayelsa a few weeks ago?
No. See, we also should differentiate between youth activities and IYC. IYC is a struggle. IYC is a struggle. It's a struggle. Like in River State, we have different youth groups. We have IYC. IYC is a movement. It's a struggle. In Bayelsa, we have IYC as a movement, but there are other youths and different youth groups. So
are you saying the IYC was not part of the whole Doye Diri Yeson Wike crisis or debacle that happened? Because at some point, if I remember correctly, there was a conversation with the IYC.
Yeah, IYC, at that situation, when we discovered the level of injustice and oppression, IYC had to express an opinion.
But that was politics.
See, you cannot totally isolate yourself from politics.
Okay.
Because today we complain about transportation, we complain about this, all those frustrations you face. When the government wants to transit, you want to express your political view at that time at the ballot. So you must be political. For you to be political, you're conscious. And you know that things could be done better. So you stand firm to defend your political view.
So
that does not mean that.
Okay.
That does not mean that you're taking. It becomes bad when your views are biased, when they're not based on patriotism, they're not based on facts. They're not offering solution. So they are biased, and you're just following the bandwagon because of you feel that your ethnic nationality is swayed towards this direction.
But you see, that argument has got its flaws in the sense that people would say that as long as it's relative what you define as patriotism or what you define as based on actuality
equity,
or
fairness.
Equity. But that's what I'm saying, relative, because the person on the other side is seeing, oh, what I'm doing is patriotic, is fair as well. You on this other side, so maybe that's the reason why they say the IRC has become a political. But that's not the conversation.
So let me just chip in something there.
Okay.
Let me chip in something there.
Yeah.
You know, by the delineation and the divide in the state, we have this unwritten understanding that for there to be balance, the power structure must move this direction.
True.
So when it moved this other direction, everybody supported. But now that it has moved this direction, it's as if there is a crime. And this issue of some persons trying to perpetuate themselves in government wants to control everything. It takes us back to the same point again. When some fathers struggled, turned around to give us a place, an identity that we could own, a space that we could own and control, today we call a state. They did not establish that structure for them and their children alone. In fact, people do not even know the Alagbariya's children now. They don't even know PJ Wome's children. They don't even know them. These children, they're not in politics. They also do not own houses around it. Today, this young generation and the people in leadership now, they have annexed everything for themselves.
Right.
And by this ideology now, the younger ones taking over will grab everything.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even see road to pass.
Yeah. So I've been speaking with Warisenibo, Emmanuel, Bristol, Alagbariya, who is the chairman of Boro State Planning Committee. We'll get to the Boro State Planning very shortly, but let's take 1, 2, 3 calls. Niger Delta, its challenges, and what the solutions should be. So if I take your call, go straight to the point. A minute, maybe more, 1 minute 30 seconds. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, and 0817-923-0007. WhatsApp 0809-0306-416. And this one says, Isaac Daka Boro is not from Okrika. Please, I've already corrected that. I know how this thing is. That's why I emphasized. And I said it like 1,000 times already. But keep your calls coming in, and let's get your thoughts. But while I'm waiting for this person's name to be recorded, let's get into the Isaac Boro Day. When is it? What is it about? And tell us.
Okay, the Boro Day has already started.
Okay.
We had a pre-Boros and sensitization tour yesterday, where about some youths had a bike procession.
Okay.
Close to 100 bikes all over from Chuba here. They processed round from Chuba to Rumokoro to Mile 3 to Mile 1 to Lagos bus stop.
I think I saw them.
Yes, they went round and they went to Transamadi, Odili Road, Transamadi, JDP at this in Peter Odili Road to Slaughter, Transamadi, Rumola, Mboba Road, and terminated at Obirikure.
People didn't go to town.
They went to town.
Okay.
They went to Boro UP. They toured around everywhere just to sensitize. And because it's a new era, we're now discussing Niger Delta issues. And some of the issues this conference will put solutions to is that we'll make strong recommendation. Is that good enough? We're going to have the Vice Chancellor of UST, Chief Professor Zep Isaac BP. He's the keynote speaker. We're also going to have Boma Brown. He was a former manager in Shell. He was in charge of the entire land asset in Shell. He's going to give an insight, the oil politics, the economic challenges, the solution, what could be done, how do we participate, how do we prepare ourselves for the challenges ahead. So he's going to give an insight on that. All
right, let's pause. We'll talk more about it. Let's listen to Daniel from Imo Gate. Daniel, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you.
Good evening, my brother Kalada.
You're welcome, please.
I love this particular topic because I am a student of history.
Okay.
Yes, Ataka Boro is indeed a Niger Delta hero. Being that, as you mentioned, Harold Alagbariya, then Eta Eyo was agitating for EFIC, that the Bible, that is today's Cross River and
Akwa Ibom. Yeah.
Yes, and what they were saying was that they were marginalized by Igbos. You know why I call Adakaboro a true hero of Niger Delta? He was fighting for his own nation, not to bend under any guys, any other people from other part of the country, so that what belongs to Niger Delta, he will not become a king. I don't know if you are getting where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because that is what we are seeing today. Another person that borrowed from Adakaboro was this guy from Ogoni.
Kensawiwa.
Sarawiwa was not for Niger Delta. He was strictly for Ogonis, to liberate Ogonis as a nation. Even when JSV and the other guy, former governor of Rivers State, was fighting for a governor or whatever. He was strictly fighting for Ogoni to be liberated. So what I'm saying, he borrowed from, I'm telling you, he borrowed from Adakaboro.
All right, then.
But the leaders that we see within Niger Delta now want to bend under the influence of whether a northerner, a westerner, so that what belongs to the Niger Delta, they now become a king. And
Okay.
this is the reason why Adakaboro is a hero indeed.
All right, Daniel, thank you. I would have to stop you there.
For his own nation.
All right, thank you very much. Well said. Not because for selfish gains, but for the entirety of the Niger Delta. Yes, T from Port Harcourt, go straight to the point, please.
Yes, it's good to hear your voice this afternoon.
It's good to hear my voice too. Thank you for calling in.
Most of us are not good for night browsing.
Okay, no problem.
The night, I will miss you.
All right, Steve, quickly. There's no time. Quickly, straight to the point.
Okay, good. One to the point. Thank you for that Niger Delta man who's celebrating Boro, our son, our father. See, I want to encourage Rivers people and Niger Delta. Like now, I'm from Gokana. Gokana, we have fresh water and salt water. We also land. So we have everything that nature has given to us, both land and water. So I want them, this may say, oh, it's very Boro, maybe it's purely for the one side of who have more water. I want us to discourage ourselves from that because we are all one. Like I said, like when you mentioned as the Boro, we mentioned Sarawiwa. These are two typical representatives who fight for this Niger Delta.
All right.
I want to encourage them, whatever they are doing, they should also encourage most of us who are from Gokana. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And finally, Emeka from Imo State. Emeka, welcome quickly. Let's get your thoughts.
Good afternoon once again.
Yeah, good afternoon once again. Yeah.
Canada, honestly, I must say in my mind, I don't know if you want us to speak more after what that gentleman has spoken.
Okay.
That has almost said it all. You see the structure, I will always say the structure in different ways. The structure of this country, Nigeria is not structured to succeed. I'm telling you this. I'm not what I'm saying. I'm not a child, I know my age. You see, in as much as we remain in this structure of unbalanced structure, some people believe they own the country, some people believe that the something will take it to a particular part of the country, and give it to them due to the way they structure the nation. The structure of the nation of the country is very, very bad. We need to restructure it. I don't know, you are just as almost everything.
All right, then.
I would have.
All right,
Sometimes and sort of what I want to say is that
all right, Emeka, if you have said it all, let's maximize our time. We don't have much time. So let's come back. You were talking about Professor Zeb being the keynote speaker, talking about Boma Brown, a former manager.
Yes, land assets, Shell, SPDC.
Okay, so he's also going to be there talking about the politics of oil and all. So what else again are we looking at?
Then we're going to have entertainment, as in cultural entertainment. We're going to give young people, we have some young talents. We'll give them a space for them to also showcase their talent to just spice up the day and also lighten the mood of the people. Then that's on the 15th, and it's going to take place at King Oliza Hall, just opposite Market Square. That street opposite Market Square at Odeli Road. Okay. Inside, at the extreme there, at the end of the street, you'll see the King Oliza Hall. That's where this event will take place. Then on the 16th, we're going to have the annual procession. The procession, young people take the pins, pour out their sweat, just to show commitment to the cause of Isaac Adakaboro. They'll process from Agri Road. They'll turn around, get to Isaac Boro Park.
All right.
and where we'll hold our World Press Conference. We'll go back again to Agri Road again. Then in the evening, that same Agri Road, there'll be entertainment, there'll be show for young people to showcase themselves.
All right, this one says, good PM radio presenter, you were asking what we do with 13% derivation. The 87% federal government has been taking. What do they do with it? Victor from Port Harcourt is asking. But quickly, Niger Delta, politics, where is the Niger Delta? I don't have much time, 30 seconds.
Okay, now, the only thing that will allow us to move forward, it's only when people can elect their leaders. And when you're elected, when you know that for you to emerge as a leader, it must be a product of the ballots when it is being counted.
So you're saying for NDDC there should be an election?
No, I'm saying that when we start electing our leaders, then what is the right thing will be done. Then people with character will be placed squarely in square spaces where they can now deliver good leadership, and you see progress. But when people still do this, they have this mentality to lick people's boots just to show loyalty, and they are placed here and there as stooges to hold as placeholders. We will not develop.
Then I've got to go. I've really got to go. My commercial is up and running. Thank you very much for coming in.
I appreciate it.
All right, then.